AI is not coming, AI is here. If you do not get results for your clients right now, you will not survive the AI age. Quantity is not going to be the marker of success any longer because quantity has never been easier to do. The thing that AI provides to us is information, but it doesn't provide discernment. AI will handle your efficiency. You must handle the empathy. It really is not going to be information is the transformation. Now it's going to be interaction. When you have both is when you will close sales. Hello and welcome back to Ambitious. Today, we are talking about all things AI. And this is actually a two-part series that we are doing because this is such a centered topic in the world of online business. I will tell you right now, there is not a single industry that's not going to be impacted by AI. There is not a single business that is not going to be impacted by AI. AI is not coming, AI is here. And so there's two things that I really want to dive deep into. In part one, like today, we are going to be going into all things what you can see already happening with AI in business. So, we're going to talk about some shifts and changes you'll be seeing. We can also talk about ways that you can overcome these shifts and changes and what you can do within your business to kind of stay ahead of the curve, if you will, and to look at what's already changed in the online business world, what's happening in marketing, what's happening in sales, what's going on within services and delivery, education, courses, customer service. All of it is what we're diving into today. But on part two, we are going to be diving into everything that you need to know to be ahead of the curve because we're also going to be looking at not just what's happening now, but also at predictions of where AI is going. So, this is really going to be, if I was going to be direct with you, like an AI handbook. Okay. Part one is going to be understanding what you can do right now to ensure that you are up to date with the changes that have already happened with AI. Part two is going to be looking at making sure that as you scale your business, as you build out your strategy for the year, for the quarter, to ensure that you are also looking and forecasting ahead of what's going to happen with AI to ensure that the plans you're making, the products you're creating, the marketing you're developing, the brand you're building is considering the reality of what is coming down the line. So, we're going to help you not only with the current state of what's going on, but also the future of what is to come. So, with all that being said, let's get into today's episode. Okay, so first we're going to start with what we have already seen AI do. And listen, you're going to see me look at my notes today, and that is because I have copious notes that I want to discuss with you. So consider today to be a little bit of a masterclass almost. First, I want to say there's marketing, right? So the marketing aspect of things we already are seeing. We are seeing lots of people using this for things like copywriting, visuals. It's doing things at a rate and a speed that many of us could not even fathom, right? So you can put in the ask or the request of it to write a caption for you, and it can do it within seconds, which might have previously taken you half an hour to do. And the thing that I would say is that this is going to impact content intensely because this is going to be looking at how we can make quality content, not quantity. Quantity is not necessarily going to go away, but quantity is not going to be the marker of success any longer because quantity has never been easier to do. So previously, there was a couple years where it was really like who can produce the most content, right? We've seen people who are really deep into repurposing. We've seen people who've been doing 2-3 TikToks a day. Like there has been this era of high volume content. And, for a while, that was something that was more labor intensive to do, more strenuous to create. But because of AI, it's actually become much easier to do now. So we're going to see a surge of a lot more content being produced. And so because of that, the really name of the game now is quality. It's the quality of the content that you're producing. It's the quality of the marketing that you're producing. And quality, again, is not just about high production value. I mean content and marketing in the sense of depth. Okay. So, what does this mean for you? The thing is, if your content or your marketing, if it connects, if it actually helps people to connect dots, have a level of awareness, if it gives insights, if it tells stories, that's not something that AI without intense prompting can do for you. And so, because of that, really what your focus should be when it comes to content right now is to focus on brand and the significance of brand and the depth of your brand and frankly the strategy of your brand. And what I mean by brand is like all of us have seen the captions that you feel like you read it, and even outside of like those dashes that are like a signature, chat GPT styling thing, even outside of those, we can see a caption and almost instantaneously we'll know that there was some AI involvement just because of the language of how it was produced. Now, one of the things that I think is the most important differentiator is to ensure that your marketing moving forward is really hyper focused on integrating your brand voice. What I mean by that is you need to ensure that you are getting your tone, your phrasing, also like emotional cues so that you're not getting generic copy. And I was just actually literally right before we press record, I was just on a coaching call with somebody and they had someone in their marketing team that we were reviewing their captions. And I said to them, listen, this is a really good caption in the sense of it hits all the strategic buckets. But one of the things that I will tell you as soon as I read the caption is it does scream AI to me, meaning it does have symptoms in it. It does have a good agitating of what the source of their problem is. It does talk about your support and your framework. It does talk about some results. Like it's hitting some core signature things that you need to be doing. But there is this undertone of AI within it. So what I recommended to them is to make sure that you add your personality back in, add some storytelling back in, add phrasing that is specific to your brand voice back in. There's going to be this really easy divide soon as to what you can see is someone's brand voice versus just template copy. It kind of feels like it's just generic, auto populated, here's your pain points, and they posted. So I think focusing on what you can do in this is focusing on developing your brand voice, understanding your brand strategy, because only if you can understand your brand strategy can you actually integrate that within your marketing. You also want to shift your focus from simply just putting out quantity of content versus quality. And what I would say is activation. Okay. So that's kind of the word that I would think about when you think about the future of marketing and content is that the name of the game is not going to be volume because truthfully, the volume thing is going to, with AI, become basically automatic for every single creator or every single business or brand to be able to achieve. So, how do we make you stick out? You need to have clarity of how to ensure that your messaging and your marketing emotionally resonates with the people who consume it. So if you are creating pieces that right now you're like, I'm teaching, I'm adding value. Yes, it's information, but again, we need personality and we need depth and we need, if I was to streamline it, personalization, right? So we need the information or the pain points you've been discussed or the product that you're talking about to really become another level of personalized within the marketing. Because only by doing that are you going to really make your marketing feel unique versus just truthfully another flavor of what they've seen seven other posts of today. The other thing that I also want to encourage you to do is to also look at using AI in the right places within your marketing. So I actually really encourage people to use AI for idea generation. So like if you're trying to figure out an idea for your marketing, if you're trying to come up with a concept for your marketing, that can be something that we give people tools. We give people our frameworks to put into their AI because it is effective. It is supportive for you and you can without a doubt use AI to come up with ideas for your marketing if you know what to prompt it. So that is for sure. But it really is about taking the pieces that you've been doing thus far and using AI to support you in telling that material in a much more resonant way. So, one of the examples that I gave to a client recently is I gave her a framework and I said, listen, I want you to pull all of your social proof. So, all of the case studies, all of the things that you have had from clients that have seen results. You're going to compile all of those. When you compile all of those, you're then going to take this framework that I gave her and you're going to pair each testimonial or each case study with this framework and cue, and it's going to provide to you a series of different ways that are emotionally resonant for you to go and then market it. So then she takes that clarity of the 5 flavors for each of her testimonials or each of her social proof, and she takes that and she puts it in marketing. So you want to think about using AI as part of your process. You want to think about integrating it to say, where in my pipeline of marketing is the human touch needed? And where in the process is it actually efficient and essential, frankly, from a production standpoint, for us to be more efficient and intentional? So when we look at marketing, the other thing I will say, and you'll kind of get this from my example, frameworks are so insanely important. One of the things that I think has come up within marketing is marketing for many people has always felt like this interpretive thing, right? So marketing has always felt like it's, this person sees this for my marketing and this person sees this for my marketing. And it always kind of felt like, yeah, it was interpretive. It was something that you kind of had to get someone's genius for. But the exciting part, I think, with AI and the rise of it is that marketing doesn't have to be interpretive anymore. Marketing doesn't need to be, well, this person kind of sees this crystal ball of what they think for my marketing. I will tell you, I use an AI platform today that basically can audit anybody's videos, whether it's long form, short form, any of it. I can give it a sample of material. It can review that material. It can pull structures of their videos. It can pull topics of their videos. It can pull what their hook structure is, what their call to action structure is. Like, it's literally never been easier to understand the structure of what is allowing certain people's creative to work. So the reason I pull structures, the reason that I pull frameworks for myself, for clients, is because the goal is to develop a framework in order to prompt AI and give AI, the instructions it needs to give you a good quality product or a good quality response. You have to know what to feed it. And what you need to be focusing on when you're feeding it is feeding it frameworks, because that really is the only way that you're going to be able to get rinse and repeat results from it. So I don't know if you've ever, for a simple model or a simple example, there's many times that when you go to use ChatGPT, you'll put something in and you feel like, oh, like the other response was way better or this result's not great. That's often because the prompt we're putting in is not either specific enough, it doesn't have enough bumper lanes around it, which again, why structures are so helpful. And there's not enough consistency in the ask, which is why you don't have consistency in the response. So, what as a marketer is really going to separate you is that you understand your frameworks, right? Because when you know your framework for messaging, for content production, idea generation, for even editing, right? Call to action, selling, social proof, there's endless examples. If you can do that, it means that it's something that AI can guess what you're doing, but it can't directly replicate it. So there is two ways that you can use AI. One is proactive and one is reactive. Okay, so the example I gave you of that platform that I put all these videos into, that's reactive. It means that my video, for example, has already gone out and I can submit to AI these top performing videos and it can pull what it believes are the consistencies throughout it. But here's the thing, if you have a framework that you're using in your marketing, rinse and repeat over and over again, you know exactly why it's working and therefore of your framework, what to double down on. So it really, I will tell you, becomes so easy to use AI for your marketing in any stage, again, from idea to production, as long as you have frameworks to anchor it into. The issue that I see is that most people don't have frameworks. They don't know what to prompt it, which is why they feel like they get these kind of generic, not really personalized, feels like they need a lot of editing type of responses. And so, like the other day, I literally ran a client through one of our frameworks initially, and then also taught her how to use it within AI. And what used to take her and her team a 3-hour meeting now has been able to be done within basically 3 seconds of putting this prompt in. And they are a marketing agency. So, what they're also doing now is taking this model and using it for all of their clients. So, think about how much time it's going to give them back. Think about how much money it's going to give them back. No cost of hours being spent on things that are not necessary. There's a lot of opportunity here. Okay. So, the thing is, and I want you to think about this as the anchor for marketing, AI is going to be able to write your words. But the thing that AI cannot do is that it cannot, at this moment in time as we record this, replace your overall worldview. Okay. So AI can replace your words, it cannot replace your individualized, personalized worldview. And that is a really important distinction because the words will no longer be the anchor of value. The overall perspective is going to be the thing that people are anchored into now. Now let's shift a little bit into sales and more customer experience focused, okay? So the thing I will say with sales, oh my goodness, there's so much evolution that's already happening with AI when it comes to sales. So the thing I will say is that there's a lot that can be done to analyze sales data with AI. So like people putting the information of their pipeline into AI and saying evaluate basically my sales pipeline and where it's broken. People also have automatic trained bots now to review sales calls. So if you are someone who has a closer, or if you're somebody who has, maybe even one of your team members is doing client kickoff calls or they're doing strategy calls for clients, you can run their recordings through AI to cross check your framework of how they're supposed to do kickoff calls. So it's really reducing the manual aspect of feedback and the manual aspect of reviewing data for sales calls. So there's a lot of automation happening. There's a lot of feedback shortcuts happening. There's a lot of, as well, like follow up email sequences, automations of AI to get back to people or onboard them. So there's a lot going on already within the sales world. And we are also integrating some of this with teams now to help their high ticket phone closers to leverage AI to allow them more time to sell in the parts where they have to be needed, meaning on the calls, doing the face to face type work. So, the thing I will say with sales is that speed is going to become something that's assumed. And with that, the speed is needing to be paired with personalization. So, an example could be you get off of a sales call and you want to send someone a next steps email or a information email of, your offer, your service, whatever it might be. The goal would be to put in just the required information that's needed. It would auto populate into an email that would send off to that person, right? So I just want to take a second. If you are someone who's new to AI, you're probably thinking my brain hurts a little bit. Okay. And I want to first of all say, it's all good. We'll take a breath. I just catch myself because I do find this stuff very interesting. I know that for me, I've spent a lot of hours in it, researching it, learning it. But with this, the other thing I want to note is if this feels like Greek to you, that's totally okay. And second, I want you to know that if this does feel foreign to you, this is the invitation I was talking about at the beginning, which is that this is something that if you are not using it, if you have been sending manual this and manual that, and you're like, oh my gosh, I realize I could be doing so much more if I was using AI, let this be the invitation to do that. Let this be the invitation to lean into being more curious about the ways that AI can support you in your business. Because the exciting part about this is you can get your time back. You can get money back. You can get hours back, not only for you, but also from a team member if you have some on your team. So let's get into sales, okay? So buyers in today's day and age expect speed because there really is becoming less and less reason for us to not have speed. But many of us have also experienced the aspect of non personalization. So if you have, just as I have at times, been personally victimized by the automation of auto DMs that are being generated and auto responses, type me this keyword and I will send you this link, etc. If you are somebody who does that within your business, you probably have also been on the receiving end of that. And it doesn't feel amazing because you can tell that it's a robot, right? The way that I kind of equate this as a connection or an equal to it is like when you call customer service for something. So, like, I had my internet that was down a little while ago and I called customer service. Well, man, I went from robot one to robot two to robot three. And with that, there was no personalization. I wasn't able to say, here's what I'm experiencing with my internet. I had to say option one or option B. So that part of the black and white nature of it, the boxes that I was offered is very frustrating because there's no personalization to say, here's what I'm experiencing. So the same thing is true when it comes to sales. There are people who are trying to be fast at sales, but in the speed goal that you have, you're losing out on personalization. So the goal is to find the medium, which is to say, I want to have speed, but I don't want to compromise personalization in the pursuit of speed. And that's really where you're going to win when it comes to sales with AI. So, one thing you want to look at is response time. Okay. So, you should have a pretty quick response time when it comes to really anything within your business sales wise, DMs, calls, emails, like all of those should generally speaking be pretty quick from inquiry to response. Again, I think that speed is going to be something that over time is going to become more and more of an expectation of any consumer or client that you work with. The second thing is that you also want to personalize your funnel. So one of the things that, has been pretty common or pretty popular for years is that people have had kind of this like standardized funnel, right? So there hasn't been a lot of customization. I think now because AI, again, if you think about like an email funnel, well, before the thought of writing 15 emails for a response, let's just say on something, was really strenuous because you thought, okay, well, if I, let's just say, have a quiz, to have a quiz that has a follow up email sequence and you have to write 15 emails as part of that funnel, thinking about doing that and personalizing it for four different responses would be enough to make you be like, I can't do this, right? No quiz. But with AI, if you have a standardized response structure, again, this comes back to framework. If you have a standardized response structure of what you want in those emails, and let's just say there's 6 options of what someone can pick in that quiz as their final answer, you can have 6 email sequences with the same framework customized within half an hour. Like the barrier to creation is not difficult any longer. So there is an aspect of you can personalize more of your funnel, you can personalize more of a sales process because the creation of what it takes to make it personalized is faster. So there's no reason to cut back on personalization in an effort to be quote unquote scalable any longer. The other thing that I think is important is to also train it to sound like you. And this is something that if you've ever received like a sales email or like even an onboarding email, a response email, and you go, man, that was so obviously created by Chat GPT or by AI. The reader, the consumer knows. So this is not something that you're hiding from them. It's not something that they're not aware of. They are blatantly aware that you are using AI if you are not overly customizing it to sound like you. So one thing that I think is important is if you're going to be using any kind of AI in your sales process, similar to marketing, you should be training it to sound like you. You don't want to be sending out emails that feel like they're a bot because, again, we know personalization inside of sales is going to be the name of the game. The other thing that I also want to look at is how can we add in human touches? Okay. So if you think about, for example, a standardized proposal, let's just say that you send to somebody. Well, if you have a standardized proposal and that's kind of auto generated, probably using a lot of automation, potentially using AI in it, if you're already using a lot of standardized, automated, AI generated documentation, messages, all of that, there's not a lot of human factor. And it's interesting because in the previous years, we kind of saw this shift, right? We saw a lot of human to human. So we had like a lot of sales calls, a lot of, voice notes back and forth. Like there was this era where there was a lot of human interaction when someone wanted to buy something. Then we shifted into like, automation, which meant like no more sales calls. Everyone wanted people to buy in the DMs. Everybody wanted people to go through ManyChat and just go through an automated funnel. They're never involved in the DMs. They really were trying to, as much as humanly possible, remove themselves, remove themselves, remove themselves. The thing is, what it meant was that we got so deep into automation and then AI came and we go, okay, great. Well, we've been put into a machine. And now, even when we are trying to do something, oftentimes, even though it might seem personalized, it's still a machine. So what's happened is we've gone now into this place where there's two kind of themes happening simultaneously, which is that consumers really want speed and they want to get what it is that they're looking for quickly. But more than ever, they appreciate human connection. The amount of people that I have had who've said, hey, will you like do a call with me if I want to sign up for private mentorship? I'm like, yeah, of course. And just the sheer shock factor that somebody can actually speak to me if they want to buy, for some people blows their mind. And that's because they've been put through so many funnels and so much automation and so much, this is not talking to a person and you're now in this email sequence and then you get this automatic email for this. There's been no human connection. So now, more than ever inside of sales, the personalized touch is doing very, very well when it comes to conversion. So for some people, this might be, audit calls that you do with people. It could be sales calls that you do. I have a couple agencies that when they send proposals, they send a attached Loom video as their sales task for that person to say, yes, our proposal's pre-created. Yes, the emails you're getting are pre-created. Yes, the onboarding is pre-created. Everything is really automated and pre-established. But the thing that they're doing is they're adding in that personalized loom. And I have a client that, I am not even joking, they close 90% of all of the inquiries that come in because they do this personalized loom. It's them taking time out of their day, out of their schedule to really think about the client and add that personal touch. And it works super well. So I would say anything that you can do to personalize your sales process to make it feel a little bit more intimate, to make it feel a little bit more human, frankly, is going to work in your favor. Now, this is not me telling you to do tons of calls with everybody, tons of, manual messages, everything should be you. That's not what I'm saying. You want to map out your sales process and say, okay, of this, where can I use automation? Where can I use AI? And where can I add a human touch? It's something that I will tell you right now, you will not be disappointed if you are someone who starts to actually audit your world in that way. And here's how I just wrote down a line that I said to a client the other day. Sometimes I'm like in the middle of coaching calls and I'll be like, did I just say that? That's good. I'm going to note that down. So I noted it down and I said, listen, with sales, remember that AI will handle your efficiency. You handle your empathy. The combination of both is what will close your sales. I'm going to say that one more time for the people in the back. AI will handle your efficiency. You must handle the empathy. When you have both is when you will close sales. Sales is no longer about the human or the automation. It is about these two worlds combining. And if you can master that, your sales are going to scale along with it. So, with it, I want to transition now into a little bit of delivery, okay? So, what is happening? AI has removed a lot of bottlenecks, okay? So, like if you are somebody who's spent hours building presentations, there's AI that can build presentations for you. If you are someone who's spent hours building out resources for clients, if you gave me a training, I could make you a resource in probably 20 minutes, right? So, the time, the duration that it takes to make resources has been cut down. The, ability to get answers and assess data and review, for example, a call recording with someone to take notes. I remember way back when, before I would do intensive with clients and it would be like a 5-hour intensive. I would, before AI was around, sit through the day and make the notes during the day, but I'd also sit through the recording and go through making line by line the notes of what we discussed, action plan, strategy outline, all of that. Now I can take the exact same notes that I took during the session on my computer. I can take the recording transcript, combine the two of those, pull from my old business plans and the structure that I want it all to be filtered into, and boom, you've got a business plan. So, this is something that can be used in every area of your business, okay, including delivery. So, with this, the thing that people are actually wanting now is they want personalized insight. And you're probably picking up on a theme here, okay? This is no longer an information age. If the thing that you think is the reason someone's going to work with you is because you can do a service for them or you can just teach them something, it's not just about giving them information and it's not about just doing a service. It's about doing a service or providing a consult or coaching in a way that is personalized strategy, not just strategy. And this is where I think a lot of people are frankly going to get squashed within business is that there's so much reliance on like, well, I teach them things and I teach them this and come learn from me. The thing is, though, if I literally searched, make me a web designer and I want low ticket offers, high ticket offers, I want to market on this platform, I want to do this, I want to launch checklist, I want this. If I gave it very specific prompts, it could tell me what to do. Now, here is the thing that AI provides to us is information, but it doesn't provide discernment. So we don't really know right now when we get a response unless we have full confidence as to what we prompted it. Meaning like if I give it a framework, I have full confidence that what it gives me is what I'm looking for because I gave it the bumper lanes. But on the contrast, if I just ask a general question for something, I'm going to get information. The only thing that I cannot be 1,000% certain of, if I said like make me a web designer in the next 30 days, here's what I'm looking for, the thing that I won't know is if the information is information or if it's information that really is impactful and personalized to me. And that's where in delivery, the real value is going to present itself. So it's not about just giving clients data. It's not just about giving clients a strategy. It's helping them to understand how the strategy can be customized to them. It's teaching them how to customize, not giving them the information because the information, truthfully, is already readily available. I just was talking to somebody about data today, and we were talking about the fact that, data and the fact that you can capture data, that you track data, that is no longer the most compelling part of their service. It's the analysis of the data. And the fact that when someone gets the analysis back, it's so deeply personalized to their goals, where they've come from, where they're going, amount of team members, all of it. So there's an aspect of personalization. They're paying for discernment between the information they're getting from AI and what they should go act on. And they also are going to have a very, very high expectation with any service on outcomes. If you are not getting outcomes for people, you are going to feel a ton of pressure from clients because you're going to have them asking, if I am not getting outcomes, why am I here? Because the reason I'm here is no longer just about getting information. It's got to be about integration in a personalized way or outcomes, if not ideally both. Now, one of the things I would recommend is integrate AI into the back end of your business. So, if you are someone who's not using this in delivery, if you're not using this in streamlined ways behind the scenes within your offer, I really, really recommend to do that. So, things such as summary notes, right? So, like, even for me, when I used to be on coaching calls with people, I would be sitting there and taking notes. Well, now you can take the AI recording and have it auto summarize again with a very specific rinse and repeat, systematized prompt. You can say, take this recording of a sales call and I want you to pull out the following things for me. That is something that is possible without me having to do anything manually. The same thing is true, not in delivery, but also in sales calls. If you have sales calls, you can have it take notes of what were the marketing things that this person noted, what was the problems they had. There's so much that you can do. So you want to be looking at how can you use it to automate repetitive tasks? How can you use it to summarize things? How can you use it to create resources in half the amount of time it might have taken you previously? I also will say wherever you save time, you now, as a result of integrating AI within your delivery, you can save that time and reinvest it. The goal is to look to use AI to be the most efficient possible. And when you do that, to reinvest that into other areas that really require the human factor. Because this is where business is going. Business has just always been humans doing manual things. We've had some automation, we've had some systems and processes, but there's been a lot of human involvement. The next wave is really going to challenge you to say, can you take and observe and find and discover all the areas in your business where AI can automate, refine, save time, save resources, reduce team cost, all of that? Can we look to really dial it in? Because then the only thing that you have yourself and your team for are the things that truly deeply require the human touch. So, this is not to say that AI is going to replace humans. It's to say that it's going to create a space where humans are really truly needed And it's going to create more efficiency in the areas that weren't efficient for humans in the first place. Right? So, like things that used to take us tons of hours, it didn't require our face, our voice, our empathy, our personalization, right? Like they were just kind of like monotonous tasks that we did all the time. Great. You're getting your time back. I'm excited about AI because I think it's going to help in delivery for you to be in a place where you are truly most needed. So this is why I want to invite you to not be scared of it. Don't be worried about it, anxious about it. Get curious and say, if I'm going to scale this business, or if I've already scaled the business and I want to protect how much we've scaled it, I have to understand where are the moments in my business where I, as the human personalized empathy factor, are most impactful. What are those moments? And we block those off to be where you are, and we look to use automation and AI to take care of the rest. The other thing that I would also say is you want to look at taking in delivery your process and making it into IP, okay? So intellectual property. So I really now am looking at my entire curriculum, and I've already started this, but our entire curriculum, I am basically creating into frameworks so that somebody can take the framework. Once they join our program and they learn the frameworks, they can take those frameworks, put them into AI, and use those as something to be able to integrate or execute those frameworks in half the time. So, one of the things that used to be slow, right, within coaching, let's just say, is that if I have a framework, number one, I have to teach it to somebody. So, there's the resource of that. Two, they have to try to digest that in a way that makes sense for them. They have to take notes on it, which again, now there can be an associated notes that goes with a training if you want, or you can create notes for any training you consume. There's associated notes that go with it, but then what's the biggest question that all of us have? We look at, what does this look like for me? Can you give me some examples? If I wanted to execute this principle, what would it look like? They already start to get the ball rolling. They have made so much progress in the strategy that I teach because I gave them the framework. Now that they have the framework, the time we get together is really about personalization. So my value as a coaching call, for example, now is no longer about just, well, I'm going to teach somebody something on this call. It's about saying, here's the framework, let's personalize. Here's the framework, let's personalize. I now am becoming less of a teacher and more of an integrator, which is helping people to personalize and integrate the information that they were given within the program to themselves. Less of just, let me teach you information. You're going to learn XYZ when you come to me. Yes, the thing that allows this, though, to be really impactful from a delivery standpoint is the fact that everything has become a framework. And we are even teaching our clients to do this. Like, I have a client that I'm helping who works in the social workspace, and we were looking at what she does within organizations. So, like, she helps different, shelters, organizations to basically become more efficient from the inside so they can create more impact in their local community. And she does a lot of operational organization and things like that, policy changes, etc. And when we were talking, she originally was like, I do similar things with people, but I wouldn't say there's necessarily a framework that I kind of anchored into. And now she has a framework. We literally took her process together and distilled that down to kind of 5 core phases. And those now have become an organization structure for her to operate off of. And so every client that comes to me now is getting a framework for either the things they do with clients or in their world, or even just for themselves of their transformation, because it helps them to anchor it into something, to remove this constant need for, just endless custom work all the time. There's an anchor of a framework that's rinse and repeat, and then they customize where it's applicable, but not ever feeling like they're reinventing the wheel over and over. So, with this, one of the things that I noted that I wanted to share with you was, you want to shift your messaging and you want to shift kind of like the pitch or the promise of your offer to, we manage this for you, to we optimize this for you. Okay. This was something I really wanted to hammer home. We are in a time now where it is all about results, not just about deliverables. Okay. and I want to just make that really clear, your offer, your service, your coaching, your consulting is no longer about your deliverables. It is about results, which means the success of your product or service is directly tied to the level of consistent results that you can generate for the people inside of your world. So if you are somebody who's like, well, you get this within our service, and you've been really deliverable focused, meaning you've been really trying to sell to people your product or your service on the basis of the fact that they get all that stuff is no longer really the compelling factor, in my opinion, to why someone invests, nor why they would reinvest. Okay. So now it really is much more of a game of how do I not just focus on what they get? Because again, people are going to expect more and more deliverables because of the efficiencies of AI. Now it's actually about what results, what outcomes, what proof of process can you show me? And the people who have the best outcomes are going to be the ones who win. And if I could simplify this for you, the reason that people care and will care even more now about results and outcomes is because if all of us have access to information, all of us have access to AI, the consumer's perspective is the person I'm learning from or the person I'm getting a service from must have different information, like or specific information, or they must have really specific frameworks or very specific ways that they personalize it. And they probably have really specific ways they're using AI to package that information and personalization together, right? Which is those frameworks. So it is about information, personalization, and the way you personalize is through frameworks. So, how that all comes together and the success rate of that is going to show in client outcomes. So if someone doesn't have good information and they can't personalize very well as a service and they don't have frameworks to do that personalization, to make it rinse and repeat, they're not going to have rinse and repeat results. They're not going to have consistent success. And so the consumer is going to look at you and say, do they have great results, great success rate with the people that come into their world? And that moving forward is going to be the difference factor. Now, here's the exciting and also potentially non-exciting part, depending on who you are. I'm just going to be really direct about this and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If you do not get results for your clients right now, you will not survive the AI age. That's it. That's it. That's literally it. Because I think about, right now, I could list you off the top of my head 12 people that I know who are in a similar space to me, who have tons of clients who are not getting results. And I know because all of them have shared this with me personally. And there's always been this kind of, discussion around, well, this person didn't put in the time, they didn't put in the effort, they didn't, apply the information correctly. None of those excuses now are going to be valid any longer because the integration of something is going to be assumed to be part of the offer. The understanding of the information is going to be assumed as part of the offer, meaning your clients not getting results at a certain point when AI reaches a certain peak is no longer going to be understood to be on the client. It's now going to be understood to be on the knowledge and again, the efficiency, the AI, the teaching, the frameworks of the company, you. So if you do not get consistent results for your clients right now, the invitation is to make sure that you have a framework, number one, for not only your service or offer, but for the pieces inside of it. Because if you do not have that right now, you're missing out on time to practice getting those consistent outcomes. And those outcomes are going to become the difference factor, the it factor, if you will, for your offer. Now, here's what I want to tell you to all my education and digital product people. AI is making knowledge free. Okay. There's never been, in the entirety of my experience on the internet, there has never been an easier time to get access to information. And the other thing is, too, information, it's not Google even changed the idea of how much information we had access to, but it's not just about information. There's also AI is creating this ability for us to summarize, make notes of, to take clarity from, to provide examples of. Like there's so much that AI is doing to even help us to not just get information, but also to summarize it and tailor that information too. So, here's how I want you to think about it. If you are somebody who has any kind of educational based product, it is no longer about information. It is about application and it is about accountability and connection. Okay. So if you have a mastermind, if you have a course, if you have a membership, if you have anything in the education space or world, the focus for you should not be just around information, but it should be just as much involved in application of that information and accountability and connection. So I'm going to give you a couple ways to think about this. Number one, add an aspect of a human layer. There's not a single program or course or any of that that is going to survive much longer as AI takes off without a human factor to it. People more and more are wanting more and more human connection. So this is adding coaching calls, you could add feedback, you could add peer accountability groups, you could add group calls, group trainings, workshops, anything that allows human to human. Okay. So that's how I want you to think about it. It doesn't really matter what the specific category is. It really is just about the emphasis of human to human interaction. So whatever way that makes sense or feels best for you. The other thing is too, you also want to try to think about it less as I'm selling a product and more that you're selling an experience. Okay. So what I think about it is like a brand experience. So there are two ways that we can buy something. You can physically buy the product or you can buy the experience of the product. So for example, Starbucks is a great example of this. And I use Starbucks as an example for everything because they really do have a lot of business insights within their company. But if you are somebody who wants to buy, let's just say a coffee, okay? The coffee is something that is the product. That's the thing that you want. The thing that is the experience is the Starbucks. The Starbucks is the customization, the customize your syrup, the extra hot, the no foam, the more foam, the cinnamon on top. That's the experience of it, which is the fact that you're, talking to the barista who knows your name and then they put your name on the cup and you've got all this personalization of what you want for your drink. It's no longer just about getting a coffee. It's an experience, right? So it's the same thing if you think about like a Dunkin' Donuts. That's like giving you the product. The coffee shop that I go to has like smooth jazz in the background and they have like all this like abstract, like bougie art on the windows. Everything is branded from front to back. Like it's literally an experience to have a coffee at their coffee shop. So that's the difference between your product, meaning I just sell this information, versus creating an experience. So I want to ask you, what can you do to make more of your product an experience? Can you create a community? Can you create a certain hub around resources? Can you start a challenge? Can you do a Q&A section to it? Can you do a live interactive piece? Maybe you have a meetup once every 6 months or in person, right? Or like a virtual workshop or something, trying to get creative with the ways that we can really create an experience around the offer, not just an offer. The other thing is too, you want to position yourself as a curator. Okay. So instead of you are the person who teaches, like I said, you're going to become the person who actually helps people to tailor information, summarize information, integrate information to their specific situation. Okay. So you have to go from teacher mode to integrator mode. That's the biggest difference, is you kind of have to be less of I will show you this versus let me support you in doing this, right? Or making this happen, integrating this for yourself. The other thing that AI obviously will do a lot of is helping to come up with lesson ideas, meaning, using it to come up with topics of what you should teach people based on what they're experiencing, creation of welcome emails, follow-up email sequences, accountability emails for people, quizzes for feedback, integration of things to increase audience or customer engagement. Like there's a lot that you can do. But moving forward, with anything in the education space, so whether you're coaching, consulting, or digital products, membership, course, any of it, it really is not going to be information is the transformation. Now it's going to be interaction that is the indicator of transformation. Okay. So thus far, there's been a lot of leniency on people just being like, well, I'm here for the information. Even if they don't interact, even if they don't participate, they were here for the information. Yes, but the thing that's showing them what the value is now is not going to be information because, again, remember, information has never been more readily accessible. So, if we want to create a business that really is tailored to the changes that AI is already creating, these are things that we need to be thinking through. So, like today, we went through all of what we already have seen AI do. So, everything in marketing, we've gone through sales, customer journey, delivery, operations, education, and digital products. Like, there is so many things that AI has already done. So, if again, you have been kind of postponing AI, if you've been putting it off, we are already seeing that's what it's done. That has nothing even touched on yet as to what it can do. So, in part two, we are going to be going over exactly what the predictions are for AI. So, what you can anticipate is coming next when it comes to AI. So, today, this was all about what we've already seen done. And if you are a little bit behind the eight ball, use this as the invitation to say, okay, I've decided I'm taking AI seriously and I'm going to start to look at what this means for my business. You and I are going to be diving into all things predictions of what is coming next with AI. And most importantly, what you can do to not just adjust what's happening with AI right now, but also put into your scaling plan, put into your, quarterly or your annual plan for your business. How can I stay ahead of the curve? How can I make sure that I am not just thinking about what's going on with AI, but also what it's going to be in the future and making sure that the way that you market, the way that you create products, the way that you serve clients, everything is not just about what right now is, but also what is going to be long term the most impactful. And this is something I will tell you transparently, businesses that I'm working with are already doing. I just had a VIP day with somebody, and one third of the day was literally AI proofing their business, which was going through and looking at the trends of AI in their industry, what kinds of offers we needed to reposition, what kinds of messaging needed to change, what kind of promises needed to be shifted, because their industry is being impacted, as all of ours is going to be in business. There's not a single industry that's not going to be impacted. And so this is really for them. They said to me, Kate, I want to be in front of the curve. So, like, I don't wanna feel like I'm kinda behind the 8 ball and I'm like, "Oh, crap, like, we don't have that, we don't have that." They were like, "I wanna be ahead of the curve," and if you are in the same position, this is why AI is super, super important. So, if you also, by the way, have any questions around AI, feel free to slide into my inbox. If you wanna send me a DM, shoot me a message. I would love to chat with you about what AI might look like for you and for your business. But all that being said, thanks so much for spending time with me today, and with that, I will see you on the next episode. So, as always, stay ambitious.